Welcome back. This is episode 208 of the Veterinary Business video show. In this episode we'll hear about the new Veterinary Practice Management Association in South Africa, and we'll learn that there are no handshakes in the cloud. We'll learn why we should framestorm before we brainstorm. We'll hear some advice about hiring your new veterinary receptionist, and I'll offer you my quick business tip for this episode. I'm John Sheridan, and this is the video show from Veterinary Business. "24 years ago, I was in the United States at a VHMA meeting and was invited by Owen McCafferty, president of the association at that time, to take the various exams with him for the CVPM, the Certificate in Veterinary Practice Management. We both passed. We talked at length about the success of the VHMA, and the following year, in 1993, Owen very generously came over to the United Kingdom and we both spoke at what turned out to be the inaugural meeting of the VPMA, the Veterinary Practice Management Association. So I was delighted to hear recently from Robin Lind that practice owners and managers in South Africa have now launched their own Veterinary Practice Management Association, and I wish them every possible success in their new enterprise. Here's a clip in which Jan Bash, a practice owner, and Amanda Pybus, a practice manager in South Africa, talk about their new association.
I'm Dr. Jan Bash. I'm a veterinarian running my own practice for the last 32 years. It is 100% small animal practice, although I have a keen interest in wildlife as well, although I don't practice any wildlife medicine at this moment in time. I think it's not just being a practice owner, a veterinary practice owner. I think the challenges is general for running a small business, and it is a small business that we have to run. The biggest challenge is the day-to-day running of things like HR, doing staff matters, getting staff, the right staff, managing those staff, doing business matters like receiving stock, invoicing it correctly, make sure that accounts are paid, make sure that accounts are paid on time, make sure that the statements that you don't get, that you're aware of that and get that done, and then also the liaison with clients on not necessarily veterinary related matters is also very important for practice managers to sort that out. So I think a forum is very important, like the Veterinary Association as well. We have a forum like that is very important. A lot of people attend that. There is people that don't attend that and don't believe in association like that. Personally, I do believe in association, and I believe that it sets standards and it helps to, in discussions to train the people and to let the people that belongs to such a forum know what is expected from them, and how in the end of the day do a better job at what they're appointed to do.
I'm Amanda Pybus. I manage Foy's Veterinary Hospital, and I have done for the last 20 plus years. So this practice has grown from probably 10 people when I started to 85 staff now. So I come from an HR background. When the practice was looking for a practice manager, they wanted to bring someone in who had a skill set that they didn't have, and that's why I was originally employed. I think attracting and keeping quality staff that are going to make a difference, because at the end of the day, the staff that you have working in your practice are the most critical element. I think it would be great. I think the difficulty for me is that I've been in the game a very long time. So I think other practice managers, up and coming, young practice managers, or people that haven't been in the industry a long time or in the role a long time, extremely valuable. I think that a lot of people will ask me, like they do right now in an informal way, for help when they need assistance, and I think it is great to have a forum like that.
Now let's see who's on the video show soapbox. We've frequently considered the value of social media, texting and email to keep in touch with clients. But we must never forget that face-to-face meetings in the consulting room or the client's premises are always going to be the most effective way of building and maintaining that bond with your practice. Here's a clip in which Jim Blessingham reminds us that there is no handshake in the clouds.
Let's talk about why there's no handshake in the cloud. In the clouds is an aviation term pilots use to describe flight conditions. Or you might have heard this term in a parent's lament about where their teenager's head is. Recently, it's found a place in the marketplace vernacular. Cloud computing is the availability of incremental processing power that resides on an application provider's servers instead of on your hard drive. For example, community building technology resides in the cloud, like social media platforms that have taken the popular culture and the marketplace by storm. No pun intended. But while cloud computing is another example of technology increasing business efficiencies and leverage, like all other high-tech tools, it still has not replicated one of the most important elements of humanity, the handshake. There is no handshake in the cloud. Successful businesses have learned how to profit from the speed and efficiencies of e-tools, including cloud computing. And those who initially discounted the notion of successful virtual relationships over the World Wide Web have been proven wrong. By now, most of us have met a prospect, delivered a proposal, closed a deal, delivered as promised, and maintained that relationship, perhaps for years, using nothing more than the virtual connection resources at our fingertips. But sometimes, there's just no substitute for face-to-face.
Now for a tip from the top in the business world of veterinary practice. In your career as a clinician or as a practice owner or manager, a major component of your role is probably to identify the problem, come up with a solution, and fix it. I've recently become a first responder working with the ambulance service, and one of the lessons I've learned is that paramedics seldom rush in to do something unless they're faced with an unresponsive patient in cardiac arrest, but that they spend much more time asking questions, doing the observations, recording the findings, and understanding what's really going on. Do that, they say, and they're much more likely to get the appropriate response right. That principle seems to be appropriate in all sorts of problem-solving situations. Here's a clip in which Dan Pink discovers why we should framestorm before we brainstorm when we're faced with a management, clinical, or indeed any other problem.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Pinkcast. You are in for a special treat today because we have, for the first time in Pinkcast history, a return guest. She is Tina Seelig, professor of practice at Stanford University and author, among other great books, of Creativity Rules. And she is here with a great tip on problems and solutions. Tina.
Great. So I've been teaching classes on creative problem solving for many years. And I've realized one of the most powerful tools you have is to live in the problem space much longer than you think.
Okay.
Before you even think about trying to find a solution.
Okay, so love the problem, bask in the problem before going to the solution.
Exactly.
Now this sort of worries me a little bit because I always like to come up with a solution. What's wrong with that?
Well, the problem is you make assumptions about what that problem really should be. Can I give you an example?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, great. So when's your birthday?
My birthday is July 23rd.
Guess what? Mine is the 27th. We're going to have a party.
Okay, let's have a birthday party. I guess it would be July 25th, right in between. Pinkcast viewers, you're welcome to attend the birthday party.
Okay, great. So we've now assumed that we're having a party, and we can brainstorm about having the best birthday party.
Okay.
But what if we question that question? What if we say, instead of planning a party, planning a celebration, or a way to mark our birthday, or something that would be the most surprising, or a ritual, or the best present. Each of these questions unlocks a totally different set of solutions. And in fact, I love the concept of framestorming before you brainstorm.
Whoa! Write that one down, folks.
The idea is that you need to essentially brainstorm the questions you're asking before you even think of the solution.
So if you go straight to the solution, you're a little bit too narrow. by living in the problem, you can widen your focus a little bit.
This is true no matter what you're trying to do, whether it's
Interesting.
planning a birthday party or trying to cure cancer. Living in that problem space, falling in love with the problem is one of the most powerful things you can do to unlock really innovative solutions.
That is a great tip from the always wonderful Tina Seelig. Live in the problem, brainstorm before you brainstorm, and you will be more creative, and you might even live a life where creativity rules.
Now for my quick business tip for this episode. Whenever I get an opportunity to talk about recruiting issues in veterinary practice, I become increasingly convinced of the wisdom of hiring for attitude and training for any missing skills. Here's a clip from Brian Conrad, who offers some advice about hiring your new veterinary receptionist.
So you have a new receptionist. Where do we start? Number one is obviously our focus on the client. And that's going to be in all the different touch points. So number one is going to be the telephone. Number two is going to be in person. And number three is going to be some type of electronic communication. So that's going to be, it could be possibly the emails, the website, could be other types of social media. What's going to be important as we work with the receptionist is to establish priorities. In other words, it's not uncommon, it's human nature for us to do what tasks or objectives are our favorite, or the ones that we're rewarded for it. So let me give you an example. We see somebody that's awesome at making sure all the medical records are scanned. That's wonderful, and we want that done. But at the end of the day, the telephone ringing or the client walking through our front door is far greater priority than scanning the medical records that can wait. So creating a list of priorities is going to be essential for your receptionist to be successful. As I talk about some of my failures over the year, I used to be the guy that would look through the resumes and I'd keep looking until I found a receptionist or a veterinary assistant that actually had experience in a veterinary hospital. Over my years, my attitude's completely changed. Now I'm looking for experience in customer service oriented businesses. If I can find someone that's been a flight attendant, if I can somebody that's worked at a Marriott, if I can somebody that's worked in fast food, it's amazing the number of people that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's going to be very similar to the people that they have to deal with in my veterinary hospitals. And so when I find those types of skills, those people, those are the types of people that I want to hire. And then the rest I can teach. I can teach them vaccine protocols. I can teach them about the surgeries. I can teach them how to run our software systems. But I cannot teach them the core people skills that are going to make us successful.
So what's my quick business tip? Well, it's this. I can do no better than echo Brian Conrad's advice that anyone can be trained on practice-specific details like managing software and vaccine protocols, but that knowing how to treat people is less tangible and teachable, but far more important. That's why he'd be looking for someone with experience in any successful customer service orientated business. Well, that's about it for now. I'm John Sheridan, and this has been another video show from Veterinary Business. See you next time.